here, and today we get to learn from Christion Sadler. He was raised in Magna, and from a young age, Christion knew that he wanted more than a typical career experience. At age 22, he saw an opportunity to step away from the predictable life path that has been set out for most of us, and he reached out to achieve success as a business owner and real estate investor. He surrounds himself with successful mentors and partners, and he has a knack for turning stumbling blocks into stepping stones. And this is made possible by a positive attitude and a thirst for success. This is something he desires for everyone he associates with. And let me share something I really admire. There's a quotation Christion has used. It says, "Possessions can come and go. It's the relationships you build in life that hold the true value." Christion, we're honored to be associated with you. How are you today, sir?
I'm wonderful, Ron. How are you?
Doing great. Let me turn over the controls, and we're excited to hear what you've got for us today.
All right. You can see my screen?
We can. Thank you.
Perfect. I want to thank you so much, Ron, for everything that you do. You continue to be here for these calls and make sure they're running. And man, you are just a wordsmith and being able to really edify those that are coming on the line. And you know, you're an amazing leader and somebody that's really stepping up in this business. So I just appreciate you and everything that that you do for this community. And folks, we're going to jump into things, and I want this to be more of an interactive experience today. So I've got this picture up here that says, "What's your story?" And we're going to focus on that a little bit today, because oftentimes this is where this is the simple thing where people fall short, and usually it's because of their own insecurities, right? It's their own belief patterns, their own insecurities makes it so that they don't recognize the greatness within them, and they don't share it. And if you're unwilling to share your story, if you are unable to get past your own limiting beliefs and simply share the value, then it's going to be difficult for people to want to follow you, right? People are looking for a leader. And of course, there's the opposite side. There's the people that think they're leaders and nobody's following them, right? But then there's a whole lot of folks that are primed to be leaders that people would love to follow. They just need to step into their own power. They've just got to be willing to step up and share their story. So we're going to do some practicing today. And I would really appreciate your involvement, okay? And let me help you understand that when you're sharing your story, you want it to be short, you want it to be concise, and you want it to be powerful. You want to share real results, okay? So one of the things that I realize with this business is that now with the way we focus on getting people to jump into their tax and legal strategies as their very first class, and now that we have such a concentration on the velocity banking, that many of you, if you'll just simply do the math and start living into the new life, your new self, your new way of operating your money and your finances, then you have a story from day one. From the very first day, you have a story. And all you have to do is be willing to share it, right? So do the math and share it. And so what I would like you guys to do, if you haven't done it already, is very quickly do the math, okay? Do the math on how much you guys are going to save in taxes and how much you guys are going to save in interest, right? Now, I get some people that come to me and they say, you know, I'm just beginning, I've been involved, and I've only been able to figure out how to get my essentials, and I don't feel like I have a story yet. And even you have a story if you'll begin down that path, right? Even you have a story if you begin down that path, and it brings up the story of Alden Sparks. Some of you know Alden. In fact, I would say the majority of you probably know who he is. Young guy, just out there, making great things happen. He's building a team, and, he's now got his first fix and flip that he's working on. And, Alden had a process in getting started and getting involved. When I met him, he was 18 years old, and he didn't have much in the way of credit. And so he started, he started from the very beginning. He started with, essentials, and he started getting to work utilizing that education. And this is key. You've got to use your education. You got to become a product of the product if you're going to benefit from it, right? We're not selling magic beans here. This is education and knowledge, and you have to take that knowledge and assimilate it into results. So with Alden, he started studying, and he got into the credit management classes, right? He started focusing on that, and he started, working towards building some credit. And then he got into the velocity banking class, and he started using that. And he started using it on a very small scale. I want to say his first line of credit was somewhere around $1,500. So Alden came in, took that $1,500, and he started utilizing the velocity banking. He would put his debts in there. He would pay his payment. He would pay his income into it, and he did that for a short amount of time, and his credit jumped way up. And so when his credit jumped over 700, then he was able to go back and he was able to apply for more credit, right? And by doing so, he was able to get access to his combo. And so he became a product of the product. As he got his combo, he continued to push and strive on the marketing side of the business. And, the rest is history, so to speak, right? Alden has created a phenomenal story for himself. He's 21 years old now. I don't think he's even turned 22. So 21 years old, and, oftentimes has $10,000 months, and, does some amazing things leadership wise. So he built a story from square one. I had somebody message me the other day, and they were asking me to mentor them. And I said, you're already a part of Renatus, right? And they said, yes, but only at the essentials. And I said, great. My first recommendation to you is to get your combo. And they got offended by this. They got offended by me telling them to that was be my first suggestion. And they said, well, you can't do that unless you have money. And, maybe those who do, who are doers can't really be teachers anyways. And thanks for your time. And maybe I read it wrong, but it felt like a frustrated post. And I knew that the frustration was not directed at me. I didn't take offense to it. No big deal. The frustration is within himself, because he's most likely not taking the information and applying it. Because even if he started at essentials, even if he started at square one with $400 down, if he started applying that information and taking on the credit management class and taking on the velocity banking class and started applying that information, even on a small scale, within a year, your life and your finances are most likely going to be very, very different. Now, for most of you, you're starting out combo, you're coming in here, and maybe you're not in like this super great spot financially. I know I wasn't. I was going behind about $300 a month when I started as a steel worker. And when I say going behind, that doesn't mean I wasn't making my payments. I always made my payments, right? Everybody thought I was doing great. What I mean by that is I was constantly adding more debt because I was spending more than I was making. See, I didn't have any comprehension of financial literacy. And so as money would come in, I would spend it. And if I didn't have enough, then I would borrow it. And I just kept working and borrowing and going further and further into this hole. And it was changing that understanding and that aspect. And so you're coming into this program, and this is not an entry-level program. This is not a Susie Orman or a Dave Ramsey, that's just trying to get you to a point of stability, right? We're going beyond that. We're going beyond stability, and we're teaching you advanced concepts and strategies to excel in your life, to succeed, and to propel you forward financially. And it comes down to learning these strategies and applying these strategies. So I'd like to make the portion of this call, the next portion of this call, a little bit more interactive. I'd like you guys to share what your story is so that other people can hear it and they can start taking that in and applying it to their own story. So if you've come in here and you have started applying the education, you've made a profit in real estate, I want you to share your story, where you came from, where you're at now, and the excitement for the future. Also, if you've started with us and you are, especially if you're just brand new, but you've done your numbers, you've done the math on how much you're going to save in taxes and or how much you're going to save in interest, but with the Velocity Banking, I'd like you guys to share your stories. And what you're going to do is you're just going to take yourself off of mute. So at the bottom of your screen there, take yourself off of mute and go ahead and share your story. Who wants to start?
Christian, this is Wanda.
Yeah. Hey, Wanda.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
I do have a story. I professionally, I have done very well. I have master degrees and so on, professionally, but life hits. I got divorced. My son got sick. He passed away, and I was struggling with only my part-time job converted into full-time, and I wanted to retire. My retirement day was now in October 18 on the industry that I was working at. And then another hit and they fired me. But before they fired me, I have joined Renatus. I took advantage of Velocity Banking, and I was able to pay my education and $18,000 in debt in credit cards. So that's a total of $38,000 using Velocity Banking in 4 months. And I got fired. So when I got fired, then I started using the fourth pillar of the business side and began working that in April. And from April to now, I have made $70,000. So, and I'm so excited. Now I'm looking for my first flip and working on making offers and so on. And I know that I will be having my first property soon, and excited about my future because I have made now $70,000 in 6 months, is double my income from last year in my income taxes. So I know that by December, I have a goal of 100,000 and be in the six-figure income. And I know I can do it using all the strategies that I've been learning in Renatus.
Very cool. Wanda, I appreciate you sharing that. And I know that you've practiced this because I can hear it. And I can hear that you share it with passion. And I know that you're getting results from it. And that's the beautiful thing about it, is because you're willing to share that story, you're creating more of a story. You're continuing to build upon the story that you've created. So thank you for coming out and sharing that. Who else wants to come out and share your story? Don't be shy, folks. You're going to have to take yourself off of mute. If you are not sure how to take yourself off mute, then just send me a chat, and I'll read that chat, and I can unmute you.
Hey, Christian, it's Natalie.
Hey, Natalie, come on out. Oh, Natalie, we lost you, I think.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So my story is more on like the emotional and mental level, at least where I'm at right now. I recently realized that I limit myself, and I do kind of this thing of like self-sabotage, to the point where I start having success and I get so scared of it that I drop everything and I start avoiding it like the plague. And realizing that now and how I've done that my whole life has been really eye-opening to me. A perfect example of this is when I was in 7th grade, I was on the swim team out in Minnesota. For the 50 freestyle, I took second in state my first season of swimming, only coming behind the person who took first 0.02 seconds. So if I shaved off that amount, I would have taken first. And if I shaved off 2 more seconds from my time, I would have been able to go to the Olympics. It's kind of crazy that I knew that back then. And I realized that that's a pattern in my life, and I'm going to disrupt that pattern. And it's so interesting because it goes into everything for me, especially money. I grew up with my parents working 3 jobs each. I grew up with raising my little sister. Like, I would get her up for school and get her to school, come home. We would walk home together, and then we would sit and do homework until my mom got home at like 8, 9 o'clock at night, and then we would finally have dinner and then just go right to bed. So that was like our lifestyle. And it's so interesting that when it comes to even money, like, I was limiting myself. And right now I'm under contract for my first flip. And all I had to do was ask and said, this is what I can provide for you. And the fact that I'm able to do that was really eye-opening to me, because I was finally able to see that I was limiting myself and then change that pattern. So it was really, really powerful to me, because I just asked and then I received instantly.
Very cool. I love that. And I understand what you're saying. You know, a lot of us do that. We stop short for many different reasons. So let's do this. Share your story in a short, concise manner. If I was to see you at the meeting and I had a guest with me and I said, oh, you got to meet Natalie, and I walked them over to you and then I edified you, how could you share your story concisely, quickly, of where you came from, what you've gained now, and your hope for the future?
Oh, that's good, because I'm still building my story. I feel. I would say that, you know, I grew up in a life where there was a pattern of and then negativity with money, and that this opportunity has opened up my eyes and has bettered my life and made it a lot less stressful. And I'm really grateful for it, because without it, I would still be thinking that I have to work 3 jobs in order to make it by every month. And I'm really grateful that I'm not having to do that, and so I can have a relationship with those I love and be able to build that instead. And because of that, I've been able to open up doors to new opportunities that I never thought I would be able to achieve.
Cool. So I just want you to add in there that success that you had shared. You know, and I'm sure that you have more as well, because if you've done your velocity banking numbers, if you've done your tax numbers, then you can add those in there. So I love what you did, because you took, you know, and this is an important lesson for all of you, right? Just the mindset change is so valuable, and most people don't even have that. And so, you know, you can share that, especially if it's something that has made a major impact in your life. Then you share, listen, I came from a world where money was always stressful, and I didn't have a way other than working more jobs to make more money. When I found this opportunity, I realized that I didn't have to continue to work harder to make more money. And now I've been able to, and then you can say, save X amount of dollars in taxes. I'm on track right now to pay off my debt in X amount of time. and I'm under contract right now on my very first fix and flip.
That sounds great, Christian. Thank you for forwarding that. That puts in perspective.
Yeah. Have you done your numbers as far as how much you guys are going to save in taxes?
Yeah, so we're kind of in an interesting situation because my husband's still going to school.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're able to use that to our advantage as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we are actually like overflowing our tax saving bucket. Like the government paid us, I think, $8,000 last year because of how much we are overflowing, which is quite crazy. And we've been able to implement everything that we've used and learned with our taxes from last year, because I took it right before taxes were done.
Uh-huh.
And we actually saved another $2,000.
I love that. And then have you guys done your velocity banking numbers?
We have. So doing the minimum work will be out of our school debt, our house, basically all of our debt within 7 years, just doing minimum work. And obviously we are going to be doing faster than that. And I'm going to try to get it down to 5 years. So instead of 48 years, we're going to do it in 7.
Awesome. Do you know how much interest that's going to save you?
I know I have it written down somewhere. I need to go look at it. I think it was somewhere around $35,000 in interest.
Perfect. I love that. So let's recraft your story of, I came from a position where money was always stressful, and I kept working more and more jobs. I was working up to 3 jobs just to try and get by. And this community has completely changed my mindset about money and the way that I operate my finances. So with me and my husband, we were already, overflowing in our tax savings. But my very first year, at the end of the year when we took this, during tax time, I took the information and was able to save an extra $2,000 on my taxes day one, immediately, as soon as I watched that class. And we restructured the way that we use our finances, and our 48 years worth of debt is now going to be paid off in 8 years if we just continue in the same pattern that we've been in. Now, I don't plan on staying in the same pattern, so my goal is to maximize and start utilizing the income side of this to pay that off in 5 years. But even if we just stayed in the path that we're on and made the minimum income that we've already been making, we'll save over $35,000 in taxes. In interest. Sorry.
Yeah, I definitely can work on wording my story quicker, and I really liked how you word that. So thank you.
Yeah. Do you want to try it real quick? Do you want to test it?
Sure, yeah. So, oh my goodness, you said it so perfectly. Now I'm like nervous.
Right, it just needs to be your words. That's the good thing about this, is all you have to, because it's just truth, like you just share it from the heart, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, in a certain order. Just share truth.
Perfect. So since joining this community, my husband and I have learned and are on track to to pay off all of our debt, including our student loans, within 7 years. Something that if we were to do it the traditional way and keep working a 9-to-5 job would have taken 48 years to get out of our mortgage and our student loan debt. With that, we'll be saving $35,000 in interest. And so we'll be able to use that to our advantage and being able to save money and create wealth instead of watching that money disappear. We also learned that when it came to taxes, even though that we were told by our CPA that we were maxed out on all of our deductions and all of our tax savings, just by watching one of the courses, I was able to get an extra $2,000 back from my return. Even though we were going to get a return, we got an extra $2,000 back. because I learned another deduction that I could take advantage of and that the CPA didn't even know.
Boom. That was awesome. All right, folks, we are at that time. Natalie and Wanda, I want to thank you both for participating. I think this helped everybody. So what I would like to do is give you guys homework. Craft your story. If you haven't done the math yet on the amount of tax savings that you're going to be able to get, which most of you, here's the thing, first year, like day one, is usually where we have the most tax savings because we have this $20,000 in education all of a sudden that we can write off. Even if we, do it as a business startup and we spread that out over, a few years, you still have that huge amount that you can write off from day one. You also have now all of this travel that you're going into the Thursday meetings and doing that stuff. You get to write that off. You get to write off, your computer, and you get to write off your phone, and you get to, all of these things for for starting up your business, you get to write off. So do the math on that of what your current income is, what your current tax burden is, and, kind of do the basic math of what you're going to save in taxes. And then the other thing I want you to do is do your velocity banking number. And, even if you're like, you're really young and you only have like one debt, even that is powerful. We have in Idaho, we have Caitlin Odell, and she is 17 years old. So she's not even old enough to own the education yet, but her parents have been helping her learn this concept of velocity banking. And she had a car, right, that she was going to be paying on, this little Fiat, her cool little car. And she was going to be paying on it for 5 years, and she took that 5-year loan, and she's now going to have it paid off in 1 year. Think about how powerful that is from the front of the room. A 17-year-old going to pay off their car in 1 year instead of 5 years because of one concept. So all of you have a story. I want you to craft your story. I want you to get good at it, and I want you to be able to share it fast, in a concise manner, so that every time we have any type of a presentation or we're out at a barbecue or anything else, I can walk my guests over and say, you got to meet Ron, you got to meet Natalie, you got to meet Wanda, you got to meet whoever else is on this line, and you guys can share your story very powerfully. So thanks for being on with us, folks. Go out there and make it an amazing day.